Welcome to this week's edition of the Dakota Angler 2-Minute Fishing Report. Well, is that fall I feel in the air right now? It definitely does feel like it with temperatures, high temperatures in the lower 70s. Maybe it's around here to stay, but being the weather guy that I am, I know that we're still going to get hit with a little bit of a heat wave yet throughout the entire month of September. So be aware of that. But you know, with this transition this time of the year, it definitely takes a while for the fish to adjust. The water temperatures haven't dropped that much out there, and until they do, the bite's still going to be a little bit mixed up, so to speak. That's what we kind of saw this past week. There were some lakes that did really well, and there were other lakes that did really poor. The lakes that did really well were up in the northeastern part of the state. Bitter and Walleye were the lakes that a lot of people had a lot of success. Plenty of 14 to 16-inch walleyes being caught, some larger ones as well. But other lakes up in the northeastern part of the state that produced walleyes included Hazelton, Lynn, Midland, North and South Rush, School, and then also Dry Lake by Clark, Grass, Big Stone, and even a few being caught at Indian Springs. Down in the southeastern part of the state, the area that the lakes that produced walleyes included Ponset, and a few being caught there, Dry Lake by Willow Lake, Sinai, and that's kind of a sleeper, so to speak, and then a few being caught at Thompson, but that bite was really tough this past weekend. And then also Madison, Whitewood, 81 ponds, if you can get a boat in there, and the weeds have really choked that lake off a little bit. And then also Brant, Vermilion, Twin, and remember Twin is a trophy lake. And then also Big Spirit down in the northwestern part of the state of Iowa continues to produce a few walleyes down there. The Missouri River, again, you know, you get north of Pier, has been doing really well. A lot of people are going out to Oahe and trying to look for those larger walleyes up there, and that bite is only going to get better over the next week or two. Now, what are people doing to catch the walleyes this past week? Still, a lot of people are using, jigging wraps. We talked about this in weeks past. This is one of the more natural colors that a lot of people are using. Basically the chartreuse, the white chartreuse. That's been really popular. Otherwise, a lot of people are going back to plastics now. A lot of walleye assassins being sold this past week. This is the white color. That's probably one of the more universal colors that will work no matter where you go. The nice thing about the walleye assassins, they're 4-inch, and we'll talk about that here in Todd's Tackle Tips. But this time of year, you want to start going into the larger baits. The other one that's been fairly consistent throughout the summer, but it seems more so right now, is the mooch minnow from Crush City from Rapala. This is the white. Again, very, very sensitive. Just a little twitch of your rod will allow that tail to do its trick. And again, they've been working really well this past week, or even longer than that. Now, as far as the perch bite is concerned around the area, with those warmer temperatures, it really hasn't taken off yet. There's still some lakes that have produced some perch, but you have to really go looking for them, to say the least. But the lakes that produced perch this past week that we've heard of included Big Stone, Kempeska, Walleye, Dry Lakes by Florence, Clark, as well as Willow Lake, and then a few being caught at Ponset and Thompson, and I emphasize the word few, and then also Whitewood. Now, what are people doing to catch the perch? Drop chain lures. The Pilkies have been #1 by far. Otherwise, again, a hook, bare hook with a piece of crawler under it, underneath a bobber, has worked quite well. In this week's edition of Todd's Tackle Tips, we're going to talk about something that happens every time this time of year, and that's really switching over to larger baits, whether or not we're talking about larger swim baits, larger crankbaits. But this time of year, when those water temperatures start to fall, that's when the walleyes really start putting on their feed bag. So you kind of switch it up from going to a smaller profile bait to a larger profile bait. For example, some of the more popular baits that you're going to be looking at is like the walleye assassins I talked about in the first part in the fishing report. Those are 4-inch swim baits. They work really well. They're kind of a compromise between the small and the larger profile baits. But again, those are probably our #1 selling swim baits in the spring as well as the fall. The second one, Largo Shad. Largo Shads come in a number of different sizes, like this one right here. This is a 4-inch, and again, they come in larger sizes as well, but again, very popular this time of year to go to a larger swim bait. Also, the Berkeley power baits, the champ swimmers. This is one of my favorite ones, especially the fire perch color right here. This is in a 4.6-inch size. So you can see by going to that larger profile bait, you're going to get a little bit more action, and those fish are going to be on the feeding frenzy. You're going to want to fatten themselves up before ice season actually goes on. So be aware of that. And you're also going to want to go to a larger crankbait. A large crankbait works well, such as this one right here. This is one of the more popular ones, to say the least. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just checking to see if you're awake with me right now. Obviously, if you want one of these, we sell them. They're a nice decoration for anything in your home or your cabin or anything like that. But larger larger profile baits like stick baits. You see these very popular up in the, a lot of times people will use these up on Hawaii. They're responsible for catching some of the larger fish and even the state record walleyes, and that's the Walleye Nation's Creation Reaper. Again, very popular bait on the Missouri River this time of year and from here on out. Other baits that are popular, the Walleye Bandit, the Deep Bandits, and we have over 100 different colors of the Bandits. This is one of the more popular ones, the hot stuff, very unique color to say the least. And then also new last year has been, the Gold Miner from Rapala. This one here is the moldy fruit color. And again, I'm not saying that these colors are going to be the knockouts. I'm just saying this type of bait, this longer profile bait, the stick baits, are what you will see on the Missouri River and some of our deeper lakes. Now, if you go to the lakes around here that are not as deep, you can go to other stick baits, such as the regular Rapala Husky Jerk. Again, not to point to any color, this is the Voodoo Haze, but again, that's what I'm talking about, is the larger stick profile baits. That's why we also love the minnow wrap. The blue eyes right here, when you cast this, again, you're getting that stick profile, that longer profile, and that's where they're really wanting that larger bait. They're actually trying to fatten up for the ice season. So again, be aware, this time of year, as those water temperatures start to fall, you're going to need to change that bait up. You're going to need to go from the smaller 2 to 3 inch profile bait to a longer one, 4, 4.5, even 5 inches, whether or not you're talking a swim bait or, as you saw, in the larger crankbaits. If you have any questions about this whatsoever, don't hesitate to give us a call. And I will also tell you that the color, it really isn't the trick this time of year. It's just the size. That's what they're really keen off, a little bit more action. So again, if you have any questions, give us a call at 605-336-9132, or better yet, stop by the store and ask us in person. And now it's time to take a look at a few photos that you sent in to me this past week. And remember, folks, if you'd like your photo included in next week's version of the 2-Minute Fishing Report, all you have to do is send it to me, and you can do that by sending it to Todd at DakotaAngler.com. And remember, folks, our red tag sale continues. As you can see behind me, some of the baits that we talked about in Todd's Tackle Tips are also red tags. So it's a perfect opportunity to take advantage of some great prices on whether or not you're talking plastics, rods, reels, you name it. Come on in and take a look at what we have on sale. If you can't make it to the store, make sure you go to our website at DakotaAngler.com, where we'll ship it out to you the next day. And if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to give us a call at 605-336-9132. Well, folks, that's this week's version of the 2-Minute Fishing Report. For Dakota Angler, I'm the owner, Todd Heitkamp, and as we say around here, fish on! We'll see you next week, folks. Thanks for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And always, stay healthy and stay safe.